A major piece back to start the 2024 NFL season. I'm Ross Jackson, host of Locked On Saints podcast. We got all that and a little bit of land gap for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend, Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as a Saints beat writer over at LouisianaSports.net and Saints analyst with WWL TV. And on today's episode of Locked On Saints, we're doing about 15 minutes or so to get you all caught up with everything that you need to know heading into Sunday's game based upon what we saw in Friday's practice, or who we saw in Friday's practice. New Orleans Saints getting some good news on their injury report. We'll break all that down. I'm going to give you my 5 additional keys to victory that we haven't fully discussed yet here on the show. We appreciate you very much, as always, making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day every day, and for being an everydayer here on the show, which is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the promo code in all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. New Orleans Saints getting some very, very good news because their defense should have its full complement of skill position or secondary players going into this game, with Marshon Lattimore being listed on the injury report without an injury designation. That means Marshon Lattimore is good to go in this matchup against the Carolina Panthers. It will be the first time that the New Orleans Saints will have Marshon Lattimore on the field for a regular season game since week 10 of the 2023 season. A big time welcome back to Marshon Lattimore and a big time boost for the New Orleans Saints defense, who are going to be matching up with a pretty pedestrian core of wide receivers, or at least what should be a pedestrian core of wide receivers over with the Carolina Panthers. I think Xavier Legette is going to be a fantastic pro. I think he's going to be awesome in the NFL, but right now he's a rookie going into his first game, and he's got to line up across from Marshon Lattimore or Paulson Adebo, or if they put him in the slot, he's got to deal with Alontae Taylor. It's not going to be easy sledding for Xavier Legette, no matter how ridiculously talented he is. The New Orleans Saints have their lockdown corner and have their lockdown corners ready to go for this matchup, which I think is a big benefit for them, because not only does it benefit what they're able to do and how they're able to limit the passing game, but it ends up building the confidence of that defensive line as well. It allows them the time to be able to get after Bryce Young on second, third efforts, to be able to get into the backfield and be disruptive. And because that, it builds that confidence for them to also feel comfortable attacking in the passing game, because you've got 3 very strong tacklers in Marshon Lattimore, Alontae Taylor, and Paulson Adebo, all at that cornerback position, which is really important when you're going up against an offense like Dave Canales'. Dave Canales wants to be able to run his running backs to the outside. So having those good support, run support, perimeter defenders at the cornerback positions, massively beneficial for the New Orleans Saints in terms of being able to limit that run game and take some of those tools up out of Bryce Young's pocket, up out of Dave Canales' pocket, and limit that run game as it hits the perimeter. So really, really important for the New Orleans Saints to have Marshon Lattimore back. We've been saying forever that he'll be ready for week 1. Good to see that he is indeed ready for week 1, and it's great news for the New Orleans Saints. A couple of other little updates for you on the injury report. There's still a chance that A.T. Perry plays this weekend. He ended up getting downgraded from Wednesday into Thursday as it did not participate or did not practice. That ended up being the case for both Thursday and Friday. We didn't see him on the field, but he's listed as questionable. So that could mean, with Dennis Allen, just kind of reading between the lines here, with Dennis Allen also confirming that it's not like a broken hand or anything crazy like that, that there's a chance that with a couple days rest and a walkthrough tomorrow, some pregame opportunity to maybe go out there and show that he can play, that he could potentially indeed get back out there in time to play this weekend. He knows the system. It's already installed. He knows the scheme. He knows how to be utilized. And look, the Saints aren't going to do a whole bunch of rotating their 11 personnel. And sometimes it's Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, and sometimes it's Bubbies. They're going to pretty much stay kind of fixated or fixed in terms of like what some of those looks look like, I assume, based upon what we've seen from San Francisco and Clint Kubiak's Minnesota days and his Denver play calling days and things like that. So something to watch out for there. But for the Saints, what that means is that a guy like A.T. Perry, who's walking in, doesn't have to play 90-11 snaps. Like, he ain't got to go through all that kind of stuff. You can have this guy end up still being somebody that rotates in when somebody needs to come out, but then also be the third or fourth wide receiver in certain packages and stuff like that. And then you're pretty set in terms of what you need from him. So it's not like you're asking A.T. Perry to move mountains for you. So if he's able to go out there and if he gets the opportunity to test things out pregame and things look good, then I think that gives you an opportunity to be able to utilize him in that way. So we'll see exactly where things go. But seeing him right now be questionable as opposed to out, despite that midweek downgrade, I think that it's very, very important that, or it's a highlight, right? It's a good thing to keep in mind in terms of what you're looking for from A.T. Perry, his chances to still be able to get out on the field, being listed as questionable, all that. He's not the only one listed as questionable. There's also two other players, Willie Gay Jr., who I expect will play, and then Nick Saldiveri, who's an interesting case. Because look, the Saints could elevate Kyle Hergel from their practice squad and have him be sort of the swing guard along with Landon Young and along with Ali Udoh, who both kind of operate as swing offensive linemen. Also gives you another guy that has played center for the team out there too. So they could go that way and then give Nick Saldiveri a little bit more time, make sure that the football shape, the conditioning is all there, everything. But him being listed as questionable does give him, just like we talked about A.T. Perry, the opportunity to be out there on the field. So definitely one to watch. I think tomorrow, when we see the game day elevations and all that stuff, then that would give them an opportunity to be able to, that gives us an opportunity to maybe be able to glean like what the Saints' plans are. If they elevate an offensive lineman tomorrow on Saturday, then it kind of lets us know like, oh, okay, well, Nick Saldiveri might not be available to go. The Saints aren't going to want to walk into Sunday's game with 7 offensive linemen to their name, right? You got to have more than that on game day. So I would watch out for that. And I think tomorrow will give us a pretty good indication of what that looks like. So that's the folks without designation, as well as the folks that are questionable for this game. On the Willie Gay thing, it just feels like Willie Gay Jr. is going to be able to play. He never elevated to full participation, dealing with that back injury. Definitely something to watch, but maybe the Saints just play more 2 linebacker sets this week and then kind of take it easy with them or something like that. Like, there's ways to kind of navigate that situation. Fellow linebackers Jaylan Ford, DeMarco Jackson are both out. I would expect DeMarco Jackson to be back in action at some point soon. Dallin Holker, I kind of expect the same thing, ruled out for this week. I think the Saints are going to be fine when it comes to tight end with Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson, and of course Taysom Hill designated there as well. And the Saints will also be without defensive tackle Colin Saunders, but we knew that and we expected that already. So nothing big and surprising in terms of those who were out for this week. So that's what I would definitely be watching out for here over the course of tomorrow. I think Saturday gives you a pretty good indication, depending upon what positions the Saints elevate and all that, kind of gives you a pretty good indication of what to expect at those positions. All right, coming up next, I want to give you my 5 keys to victory for the New Orleans Saints that we haven't discussed already. So we're going to dive into that here as we continue on with, I think I'm going to go ahead and just make this a full episode. So you know what? Stick around, get comfortable. We're going to be doing this for another extra 15 minutes. We got that coming up for you next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints brought to you by our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs, the #1 place to go when it comes to hiring qualified candidates for your jobs, because they make it easy for you. And they also or have a proven track record. I mean, look, 2.5 million small business owners already use LinkedIn to find quality candidates for their jobs. 70% of LinkedIn users end up, or rather, actually, it's 70% of LinkedIn users don't even look at other job boards, and 86% of small businesses end up getting a qualified candidate within 24 hours of posting their job. And LinkedIn even makes the job posting opportunities easier too by giving you a tool that helps you write job descriptions. So it speeds up the whole process for you there as well. So go ahead and join those 2.5 million small businesses that are already using LinkedIn Jobs. You can post your job for free today at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, family, we appreciate you very much for being here for us and with us for another episode of Locked On Saints. I'm going to give you my 5 keys to victory for the New Orleans Saints, ones that we haven't discussed yet. And I want to start off with helping the offensive tackles. I think that's going to be a big thing for the New Orleans Saints. And you don't have to look too far for an example on exactly how to get that done. We got that coming up for you here. We appreciate you very much for making us your first listen of the day every day and for checking us out here. Don't forget to also go and check out for your second listen today, Locked On NFL, 2 shows a day, all the biggest stories from around the National Football League. Today, Tony Wiggins and former NFL scout Matt Williamson dove through a bunch of games from that coming up. We have a game tonight. There's games this weekend. They dove into a whole bunch of stuff, so make sure you go and check that out. And I want to give a really, really special happy birthday to my good friend Fred Williams out here in the chat. Already out here, turning 44. Congratulations to you, my man. Thank you very much for all the love and support that you've continued to show the show. All right, so I want to dive into my 5 keys to victory. I'm going to go into a couple of things that we haven't discussed just yet, and I want to dive into a few other things here as well. The first thing that I want to start off with, though, is helping the tackles. I think that there are times when the Saints will use a tight end or a running back to help out the tackles, and everybody looks at that and they go, oh, well, the offensive line is struggling, and now those guys can't run routes and all this other stuff. There's some truth to that. But I also think that if you take a look back at last night's game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, nailed it, got it. You saw this from the Kansas City Chiefs all game long. They had 2 new starters at tackle on either side, 2 young starters, at tackle on either side, and they helped their tackles. They had the tight ends chip and then run routes. They had the running back stay back to help out. And then if that running back doesn't have anybody in the block, they just serve as a little outlet over on the side. I think the New Orleans Saints can employ some of those same things, or deploy rather, some of those same things in their offense and help their tackles out. You know you're going to want to help out Trevor Penning. You want to make sure he's confident. You want to make sure that he's being able to show you what it is and his development, all those other things. He's got to be able to prove all of that big time. Jonathan beating me to something there. We're going to come to that. But you got to make sure that he is able to also go out there and prove to you what it is that he wants to and what he needs to prove to you. But also help him. Give him some help. Taliesin Fuang, the same thing. Let him prove to you the fact that he can be your starting left tackle for your future as a first-round draft pick. That's all excellent. Everything like that. But also help him. Help them. Give them both the tight end help. It doesn't hurt to do it as long as you're not sacrificing those tight ends from running routes. If you can get them on chip and release game to where you actually literally have them come in, help out, and then run a route off of that, fine. But you got to make sure that they have the timing right and that they're getting into these, that they're getting into their routes, right? That they're able to go out there, that they're able to be a part of the passing game, that they're able to be a part of what it is that the Saints are doing. So that's my one kind of caveat to all of it, is that you have to make sure you're doing it in such a way that it supports those players and keeps them involved in the game and keeps them involved as pass catchers. But I think you can give them the help. You can do the same thing with the running backs as well. You get a Jamal Williams back there. Jamal Williams can run up, chip, and then go and run a route for you if he needs to. Same thing with Alvin Kamara. Same thing you can do with Jordan Mims. I think all of that is valuable for what the New Orleans Saints need to do this weekend in order to get a win up against the Carolina Panthers. So I think that that's a big one for me. My other big key is Taysom Hill. Taysom time, right? It's got to be Taysom. Taysom time all the time. That's my big thing for this game. Keep him on the field. Keep him involved. Have him get mixed in at quarterback. Have him get mixed in at running back, at tailback, and fullback. Have him over there and the wide receivers working with the slot and having him up at tight end. Just put him out there, dang it, and get him the ball and let him go out there and make some plays for you. Taysom Hill is one of the most unique players in the league, if not the most unique player in the league, and is one of the most interesting players to watch play football. It is a crime when Saints fans don't get to see that guy out on the field. And I don't think you're going to run into much of that this year. Clint Kubiak seems very, very adamant about utilizing him. Taysom Hill is liking the role that he's in, it seems. He's feeling very comfortable in terms of the expansiveness. They just made him a team captain as well, which I think also gives you an opportunity to be able to see, to be able to see where it is that he can be, beneficial, like all this stuff. Or sorry, the team captain thing is like a vote of confidence from the players as well as the coaching staff to say, hey, this dude is big in terms of what it is that we're trying to do. And then Dennis Allen also mentioning, which I thought was interesting in today's press conference, that he basically told Taysom Hill at the captain's dinner, where he was nominated and honored as a captain, that like he's got a good voice and a voice that people want to hear because everyone respects Taysom in that room. And think about it. He plays quarterback, running back, fullback, tight end, wide receiver, in line, in the slot, as well as out wide. He's on kickoff coverage. He's on kickoff return. He's on punt coverage. He's on punt return. Literally does everything that he is asked to do. How do you not respect a guy like that, right? How do you not look at a guy like that and go, yeah, okay, that's a team leader. That's a voice that I respect in the room. And so I loved the fact that he was highlighted for having a voice. And then even so much from Dennis Allen being Dennis Allen, almost challenging him to use his voice more. He said, when Taysom Hill speaks, people listen. So look, if you're going to put a captain's badge on his chest, if you're going to encourage him to use his voice, if you're going to continue to work him into all these different areas, he's got to be on the field. And I don't think that's going to be a big issue for this New Orleans Saints team here in 2024. I just think they figured it out. I think that they know. You know what I mean? And here's my reasoning for that. If you look at his non-quarterback snaps in 2023 over the course of a 17-game average, right, over the course of an entire season, his average number of non-quarterback snaps that he played all year long or last year was 18, right? This is a review for some of you, but for some, this might be new information. 18 non-QB snaps over a 17-game period in last year's season, 2023. During the preseason game 2 and a quarter and some change, he played 14 non-QB snaps, just 4 short of what he did on average in a full game, 17-game season last year in non-quarterback snaps. That means him taking snaps at running back, at fullback, at tight end, at wide receiver. Not even looking at special teams in that equation. Non-QB offensive snaps. So that, to me, is the big thing that you have to see that you'd love to see when it comes down to how much Taysom Hill should be on the field. That's a good sign that they were only 4 shy in a quarter and some change than they were on a full game, 17-game basis last year. That's good news if you want to see Taysom Hill out on the field quite a bit. Somebody asks all the time, and actually somebody just asked about it, Alvin Kamara running behind a fullback. It's something that the Saints have had in their offense, but haven't leaned in on as much as you'd like to see. I think you're going to see that change this year. I think Alvin Kamara running behind Taysom Hill is something you're going to see this year. Alvin Kamara running behind Adam Prentice is something you're going to see this year. So I think that all that ends up folding in to what it is that you want to see from this New Orleans Saints team when it comes to this 2024 season. One of the big things that I think it was even Dennis Allen highlighted at one point when he was asked about the scheme for the New Orleans Saints and what Klint Kubiak brings, he mentioned the usage of a fullback being as a part of it. And so that's a big thing. So I think it's true that Taysom time is all the time. That's my mantra all season long. Taysom time is always time. And I think a big thing that I'll also mention when it comes to Taysom Hill is that if he goes out there and has a nice game, he's a shoo-in for dog of the day. Shoo-in for dog of the day here in week 1. All right, coming up next, let me give you 3 more things that I'm going to be watching for that I think are important in this game. And the first of which is run, baby, run. It's all about the run game. Got that coming up for you next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints brought to you by our very good friends over at Prize Picks, the easiest and most fun way to play daily fantasy sports. Literally the only way that I recommend to people to play daily fantasy sports. I have retired from the redraft leagues. I do not play in fantasy football leagues anymore, anything like that, but Prize Picks is super, super fun and one of my favorite things to get into when I'm out of town. And so I absolutely love Prize Picks. Here's how it works. Instead of you having to play against a lineup or doing daily fantasy where you're playing up against a mystery lineup and you're trying to take a small slice of this big pie that supposedly exists, it's you versus the house. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 Prize Pick stat projections. And if you start winning those, the winnings roll in. And right now, through the month of September, every week, 1 Caleb Williams passing yard is an automatic win. So there you go. That's one of your 4 correct picks that you need to win up to 100 times your entry back. So go check them out today. Download the Prize Picks app and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL in all lowercase. on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. And you don't even have to win that in order to receive the $50 bonus. It's already guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. We are taking a look now at Run, Baby, Run, because I think that's what the New Orleans Saints need to do a ton of in this game to help secure their victory. Do I think that if the Saints can't run the football that they will lose? No. But do I think that running the football makes it easier for them to win? 100% yes. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Praying for you, Ro, big time. So I think that the next thing that I would look at here when it comes to the run game for New Orleans is not just Alvin Kamara, who we highlighted in yesterday's episode, not just Taysom Hill, who should be everybody's go-to fantasy selection right now because they changed his position designation to tight end and it's perfect. But not just those guys, but also how do you get Jamal Williams involved? How do you get Jordan Mims involved when Alvin Kamara needs a spell, right? Here's the other thing. How do you get Rashid Shaheed involved? How do you get Chris Olave involved? Do all of it. I think you give all those guys opportunities to run the football, and you do it in different ways. Jet sweeps, into rounds, all these different things. Yeah, baby, run it. Because I think that that's got to be a big part of what this team does. If you really want to maximize what it is that a guy like Rashid Shaheed can bring to you, have him impact the game in multiple ways, not just somebody that's going to run the deep route and maybe, you get lucky and hit him on a deep post route, which my bold prediction is, and maybe it's not a bold prediction, but my prediction is at least one Rashid Shaheed deep ball touchdown in this game. So we get one at least. But I think you've got to be able to see a lot of what you saw Rashid Shaheed. Do you remember Rashid Shaheed's first touch? Yeah, Xavier Worthy last night got his first touch for a touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I went to social media and I said, well, look at Xavier Worthy doing his best Rashid Shaheed impression, because Rashid Shaheed did 2 touches, 2 touchdowns early on in his career. And so you look back at that and get Rashid Shaheed involved in the jet sweep game, the end around game, all those other things. Let him utilize that speed and let him impact this game more than just being limited to being, this deep field stretcher. And while also being the deep field stretcher, but also getting him involved in the short intermediate areas, giving him the catch and run opportunities over the middle of the field, all those things. I think you do that with Chris Olave too, if you get the opportunity to get him involved in the run game, or at least have him run some routes out of the backfield like we saw early on last season. And it created this nice, nifty little wrinkle for New Orleans. And then they just went away from it and never did it again. So I think that ends up being a big thing. Real third down plays. Yeah, I think that's a big one. And actually, Reed, you got ahead of me on that one. I absolutely love it. My next thing is win on first down, win on second down, convert on third down. Now, listen, win on first down, win on second down, convert on third down. That is the game plan and the key to victory for every single team, all 32 teams that will play this week. I understand that. But I'm highlighting this specifically because it's one of the areas where the Saints most struggled last season. And I'm going to flip this to the defense as well. Win on first down, win on second down. Don't allow the conversions on third down, right? Force them into the third and long situations. Keep yourself out of the third and long situations if you're the New Orleans Saints. First and second down, the New Orleans Saints had good protection up front in the passing game last year, but then third downs, their pass protection sunk big time in terms of DVOA and all these other things. So you've got to be able to take advantage of the compliment that you're getting on the first and second downs if that pass protection rolls over here to 2024. And then at the same time, you got to be able to run the football. So it goes back to the run, baby, run part. But winning on those first and second downs means picking up 4 yards on first down, picking up 4 yards on second down, and then bam, you're in a 3rd and 2. We're not talking about anything crazy here, right? We're not talking about how the Saints need to average X many yards. They got to average at least 8 yards on first down. No, they got to average 3 on first down. Can you go and get that? Can you go and get 3 yards on first down so you win first down? Then can you go and get 4 yards on second down, 3 yards on second down so that you win second down and then put yourself in a better than 3rd and 5 situation as often as possible? I think that ends up being a huge key to victory for the New Orleans Saints this weekend, is that they've got to be able to put themselves in those situations. Simultaneously, on the defensive side, they have to be able to avoid allowing those possibilities or those opportunities for Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. There's a couple ways that they'll have to do that, right? First of all, does that number 22 in the NFL run defense look better this year? That ends up being a big part of it. Can you stop the run on first and second down? Secondly, we know that Bryce Young is not the most mobile quarterback out there, but can you make sure that he's not creating an additional second or 3 seconds to where he ends up being able to convert third and longs when you put him in the third and longs? Can you finish plays at the quarterback? Will always be my big question about this New Orleans Saints defense right now. So I would highlight that as well. That's how the New Orleans Saints have to win on the defensive side. Win on first down, win on second down. Don't allow the conversions on third down. Conversely, over on the offensive side, win on first down, win on second down, and then convert those third downs. That has to be the big thing on both sides. Finally, my last thing over on the defensive side is, hear me out, make plays. Make plays. Don't care if it's an interception. Don't care if you're forcing a fumble. Don't care if you're sacking the quarterback. Don't care if you're getting a tackle for a loss. Make plays. Start strong, make plays. Put points on the board if you can, right? That has to be the big thing. Steal extra possessions for your offense. The one thing that would really, really help this New Orleans Saints offense in terms of getting into rhythm is getting extra possessions, right? Think about learning how to play an instrument. First time you learn how to play an instrument, you're not as good at it. Second time, you're a little bit better. Third time, you're a little bit better. 300th time, you're much better. 1,000 hours later, you're even better. 10,000 hours, you're an expert, or whatever that number is. So reps. So if the New Orleans Saints are running a little bit over 1,100 plays throughout their season, ideally on the offensive side, the 1,100th play looks better than the first play, right? So if you're stealing possessions from, or as a defense, if you're stealing possessions and giving them back to the offense, you're allowing that offense to get back into rhythm. And you're keeping the opposing offense from getting into rhythm because you're getting them off the field. And so even make plays, 3rd and outs, 3 and outs, like those types of situations, any of that you can force over on the defensive side, you have to go out there and establish dominance if you're the New Orleans Saints defense. I think that has to be a big key for this New Orleans Saints team as well, is to just be dominant on defense. Your roster on defense is better than their roster on offense. Period. With the T at the end. Bring that back. Hello, millennials. Huge, right? And so your defense, which we believe has a better roster than their offense, go out there and dominate. And that takes us all the way back to Marshon Lattimore being made available, or being able to be available in this game. How clutch that is for this New Orleans Saints defense. I think the New Orleans Saints win this game. I'm giving it to them 24-16. It might be an even bigger victory than that. But I got to tell you, if the New Orleans Saints, man, if they find a way to lose this game, the noise is going to be loud. So we're just not even going to put that out into the universe anymore. I said it. It's there. We've acknowledged it. We've acknowledged the possibility. I ain't even going to put it into the ethos any longer than that. So boom. That's my note on that. Boy, that would be a big deal, wouldn't it? So hopefully that doesn't happen for this team. So we'll see how everything goes Sunday for this New Orleans Saints team. I appreciate you very much, everybody, for being here. We had a lot of folks in here. Glad that we kept this going for some extra time as well. We'll be back with you tomorrow. I'll have 5 things you need to know before this game. More than just keys to victory, just kind of like 5 things that you need to know about the offense, the defense, like all this other stuff. So we'll kind of go more 30,000 foot view on that. And then Sunday we'll be live right after the game or after locker room. I'll do post game locker room and all that stuff. Head out to the floor of the Superdome and it will be live for you after that game. So we appreciate you very much, y'all, for being here. Thank you very much, whether you're catching the show live or catching the show later. Much love to you all. Really appreciate you for coming through. One more happy birthday to my guy, Fred. And of course, if there's anything that you need, you know where to find me. We appreciate you very much, as always, making us your first listen of the day. Now go check out Locked On NFL, Locked On Pelicans, Locked On LSU. Appreciate everybody for being here. Thank you very much for making us part of your day, part of your routine, for saying yes to me on the show. As always, if you see me, please say hi. And if you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing, how you living. Let me know how you momming them. And trust you, that nation, I'll holla at you.